This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. We have with us at WZRD today Catherine Brown, Mayor Tycoon. She is running for mayor of the city of Chicago. Welcome, Mayor Tycoon. Good morning. We're so glad to have you with us today. Could you describe your background and your work as a community leader?
I am an educator and a community leader. It started with me working as a block club president, then moving forward to a precinct captain, and then working with our local school council president, No Child Left Behind president, and then just continually to move forward with a lot of different community action groups and just making sure that we have what we need within our communities to help good living for all of us. I'm also currently a CEO for Neighborhood rebuilding neighborhoods, starting with the people of the neighborhood, just giving them the support that they need to become effective citizens of Chicago, and then just working with them on getting jobs or into school, just from A to Z holistic living. When it comes to implementing things that help make the community better, we've worked to get projects. Actually, we used to have different meetings at my home so that we could bring projects in our community. I'm over in the 21st Ward, where we work diligently to build that Walmart that's there over on 83rd, because we wanted to make sure that we got a good place for people to work. So it brought a lot of jobs into our community by just having that Walmart there. And
Is that area a food desert before Walmart came in?
Yeah, actually we needed a place, just more businesses, period. And we're looking to bring even more businesses over in that ward. Having that Walmart over there did bring in other businesses to come in. And we would like to just see more of our African American businesses to be able to have small businesses in our neighborhoods too, where there's really no sit-down restaurants over in our area. As a mayor, I would like to see sit-down restaurants over in the south side of Chicago as well as the west side of Chicago. There's not a lot of places for people to get jobs, nor is there places for them to, just have good family sit-down time. A lot of my work as a community leader starts from my block and spreads out throughout the city. I fought to try to keep a lot of our schools open, and when they closed the schools, we only had one right in our ward that is actually closed, but I know a lot of other wards had quite a few of them, but we fought hard, so we were able to save some of those schools.
Good. When you spoke about the small businesses, small businesses hire 75% of employees. And if you're able to bring more small businesses to the south side and to the west side, you'll get a lot more people working.
Yes, absolutely. We definitely need to create jobs, and good paying jobs. It's terrible for us to have one side of the city look good and then the other side of the city is not in the best of its condition. We should be, as I would quote from Harold Washington, one city. Chicago is one city. We should work as one people for our common good and our common goals. If we could just adapt to what Harold Washington was teaching us and his quote, and we just pick up the mantle from where he left off, pick that up, and we run with that, I think we could have a really good city, because you can't leave one side of the city in bad condition and think that it's not going to trickle down to the other sides of the city, because now you just don't have crime over on the west side and the south side. You have crime coming downtown and north side, and it's you have to be careful of how we treat each other across the board. We want good businesses and good living for all of us.
Is there any correlation between what Neighborhood Rebuild is doing and what Harold Washington's goals and work was?
Yeah, I think so. Harold Washington, he came up with a program which people talk about a lot called TIF, and that money was to support underprivileged areas, low-income areas, where they could be helped to build up the community. But of course, we know a lot of that money is being used in the South Loop and for building up big buildings and things of that nature. I know as mayor, what I would do is to take that funding that Harold Washington came up with and put it in the right places as he wanted it to be.
Is that what convinced you to run for mayor of the city of Chicago, or is it one among many things?
I could say it was one among many things. One of the reasons that it kind of sealed the deal for me is when I got attacked by the police But this is really a spiritual thing for me. You know, back in 2011, God first revealed to me that he wanted me to run for mayor by bringing unity into the community and citywide. So that was one thing. And then when I got attacked by police, and as I'm in jail sitting there for no reason, for the police, you know, making up a story on me and my daughters, it's like God spoke to me again, said, see, this is why I want you to run for mayor, because there's no accountability for the police, and I wanted you to have hands on what is really going on out here in the police department, because of course everybody that knew me know that I worked diligently. Before this happened to me with the police, I used to work diligently as a liaison between the community and the police to bring unity amongst the police and the community.
That's what you want, yes.
Yeah. So I worked as a community leader with the 6th District Police Department and our community to bring unity amongst the two. And at that time, I believe it was working pretty good, because we began to, you know, get the community members and the police to come out to do roll calls and things of that nature, where we supply water and certificates for the police, just to, you know, show them some love and to help them to understand that we're here to be support to one another. You know, not that we don't think that we need police, because we know we do, but we want good peace officers. We don't want police that's going to neglect and disrespect, but we're looking for those police officers who's willing to serve and protect. I would be a mayor who supports good leadership. As far as with the police department, I would definitely make sure that they are clear that we are here in Chicago to serve and protect the people. The people do not work for us, we work for the people. And to make sure that there's accountability when police do wrong, because it's not just us as community leaders, but you have police officers that's going to work every day and hoping that they can be a good police officer, but they can't, because you have so much corruption in the police department. So we would definitely straighten those things out in the police department. I think we can't even go further into having the issues dealing with crime in Chicago until we straighten out the issues with the police in Chicago, because people are not going to report what they know about crime to the police, because they don't even trust the police.
So why did you change your name?
The name change, that's a spiritual thing as well. That happened back in 2008. It's not a name change, it's more of a addition to my name. So I was born Catherine Brown, and then I had addition to my name, Catherine Brown D. Tycoon. I'm a spiritual person. I'm a woman of God who believes strongly in faith, and I believe strongly in prayer and the Holy Spirit. And because ever since I was like 11 years old, I've been participating in business with the family, and that's pretty much all I know is business, because business and leadership, because I've done it since I was 11 years old. God gave me that name and told me that the name wasn't just for me. He was going to use me in the future. Tycoon is just, D is just for the, and Tycoon is the wealthy and powerful business leader. It's not so much as wealth and money, even though, you know, I've been blessed, but it's more like wealth of information, wealth of resources, wealth of leadership, wealth of love, wealth of support. So it's wealthy and powerful business leader. So when God gave me that name, he told me that he was going to make me a tycoon, and he was going to use me to lead many other people to becoming tycoons.
If you are running as a write-in candidate, who challenged you and took you off the ballot so that you have to write in as a candidate?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's really important that people realize that I am a candidate for mayor, but I am a write-in candidate. I like to explain to people exactly what that means. 2 parts to this. Voting on a computer, you would just click right in, right up under all the names of mayor. So we're coming up with this thing called ban the ballot for mayor, which you wouldn't pick anybody that's on the ballot. You would just go right to the drop down box that says right in, tap that, and you just type Tycoon, Tycoon, just like Wall Street Tycoon, just Tycoon. You don't have to know my full name or any of those things. You just type Tycoon and then enter. And if you're dealing with a paper ballot, then you would go where it says mayors, and they'll have a space for write-in, and you just put Tycoon there. It's extremely simple, but they try to make it seem hard, because a lot of people are not familiar with how to write in. But the write-in, to me, is even more simple than, because you get a chance to use that as a speaking tool to say, hey, I don't need who you have on the ballot. I can use that as a speaking tool to say I can choose who I want by writing in the person's name. And you don't have to say the full name. You could say Catherine, you can say Brown, or you can say Tycoon. It doesn't matter, long as it's an intent on them knowing who you were voting for through the write-in.
And you are on the official write-in list because you submitted your declaration of intent to be a write-in candidate, and a write-in vote for you counts because you are an official write-in candidate. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. So I am on the official list as a candidate, as a write-in candidate for mayor. Just write Tycoon, Tycoon, or you could put Brown. You could just put Brown because that's my last name as well. So I just have two last names, Catherine Brown, D Tycoon. So if you can remember Brown like the color, or you can remember Tycoon like Wall Street, it's fine. And then just make sure you press enter, or if it's a paper ballot, just write Brown or Tycoon on it. And it's extremely simple.
Who are your base supporters for police accountability and justice for all?
I'm a member of a lot of organizations. I am. Some of the first people that supported me as I had an encounter with police was CPAC, Community Control for the Police, Action Now. I'm a member of so many different organizations that wants justice. I'm even a member of the Harold Washington Legacy Team, 10 by 10 to Win from Chicago, Black Lives Matter Chicago. I'm a member of a lot of places that gave me a lot of support for, justice and just getting all the way around the board justice for us, period. CPAC has been like the number one supporter in Action Now when it came to that.
If our listeners wanted to see the video to know what you're talking about the police brutality, do they type in Catherine Brown and police video? How do they access it just to see it if they haven't seen it already?
Yeah, if people haven't seen it already, I would say you could go on Google or you can go to YouTube and you would type in Catherine Brown CBS News Channel 2.
Okay.
And, Catherine Brown CBS News. And it should pop up right under your YouTube. And there's like a 3-minute video, which I think that CBS News did an awesome job on showing. And it's an actual videotape from police car video that they used to show you exactly what happened during that night of May 13, 2013. Very good way to help people to be able to go and get a good view of what happened to me and my girls.
Yes. So now you are running your own political campaign. What experience do you have working on others' political campaigns?
Oh, I've worked with several campaigns. Actually, this is not my first time running. I ran back in 2011 as an alderman candidate for the 21st Ward. And that's where it all began for me, of wanting to run for mayor, or not wanting to run, but that's what my spiritual connection came with the Lord about running for mayor happened in 2011. So that was the first time when it was brought to my spirit as I was running for alderman that God wanted me to run for mayor. And that's a whole nother story, but it's a deep one. And this is why I've continued to run as a mayor candidate.
Are there any of your supporters from your aldermanic campaign that are helping you now in your mayoral campaign?
Yeah, I have family and friends that definitely support and help me, that was with me then, that's with me now.
How long have you been living in the 21st Ward, Ward 21?
All my life. I'm 45 years old, and I've lived there for 45. I'm almost 45. I'm not 45 yet. I've had some temporary move from that area only because we had a disaster in my home. So I'm in temporary housing now, and looking forward to moving back into the 21st Ward after everything gets finished over at my home.
Mm-hmm. How many other candidates challenged your nomination papers?
We had 2. Actually, I think we had 3 challenges. Tony Prinkwinkle, also Dorothy Brown, but of course I was blessed to find out who was behind those challenges. It was 3, but one person dropped it, and then that one that was from Tony Prinkwinkle, I had a lot of signatures, and the reason they pushed me off the ballot was to say, you should have had all of your petitions in one tall stack instead of having them binded in several packs. Even though they were very professional, they apologized to me about how they wish they could have kept me on the ballot and all that foolishness, and to say, you did all of this hard work, but the only reason we're not going to let you on the ballot, even though we know it's it's not a part of the law that says that you have to have it in one book. Nobody could show me that. Not even their lawyers could show me that. They just went by what other people did in the past. And that's some of the things that we here in Chicago have suffered from, as people not actually following the law, just doing what they saw other people do. And we sit back and take it as if it's right, but not Catherine Brown D. Tycoon. So I will be going further with that to get reform at the election board.
Is the case still under review? Have you been able to go higher and have it additionally reviewed? Because that does not seem fair if all that separated it was being.
Well, no, I didn't waste any more time with that. I've already had a lot of time taken from me from campaigning, so I just decided that because I had so much time taken away from me from campaigning, which that's what they do all of the challenges for anyway, is to stop you from campaigning. So I decided that the election is coming, I need to campaign, but right after this I will be suing the Chicago Board of Elections for what has happened to me, and moving forward with that as well, be it that I'm mayor or not mayor, that will still happen, and I will be working diligently with others to reform the Chicago election process.
Okay. What are your 3 top goals to accomplish as mayor?
Well, the number one thing that I want is police accountability. Here in Chicago, we spend a large amount of money in lawsuits alone just from police brutality and bad actions from police. So in order to save the city a lot of money, where we can put money into other things, we have to start with police accountability, because I believe it's been between $500 and $800 million of taxpayers' money that we've used just to pay off a lot of these different lawsuits, which the people really deserve to have the money once they've been disrespected and neglected by the police. In order for us to stop the taxpayer for being responsible for what crooked cops do on the streets, we have to, number one, start with police accountability, making more the responsibility on the police themselves and not so much as to the citizens of Chicago, because that causes our taxes to go up, and it causes us to have to lose out on quite a bit of our own tax dollars when we could use those tax dollars to fund our schools, to fund having clean streets and clean neighborhoods, to help us with housing, affordable housing and things of that nature. So definitely I would start with police accountability, because the police department is over 50% of the budget. And the budget is running billions of dollars. And how in the world can we lose so much money, and how are we spending out so much? And the police department is like the number one troublemaker and cause of corruption in Chicago, and we do not have any accountability. Not only do we not have accountability, we don't even have safe streets. Police accountability will be the number one thing that I start on. And then the number 2 thing that I would work on is crime on the streets of Chicago. People don't want to live here if they don't feel safe. Right. And they'll never tell us, or even attempt to tell us, what's going on with a criminal that's doing wrong if they're not even trusting the police. And the police is the one that help us get down to what's going on. So we got to start with the police department, building up the trust between the community and the police, and then dealing with the crime issues on the street. The third thing would be, after people know it's a safe place to live, they need somewhere to live. So we will focus in on affordable housing. We will open up the programs that are available from Section 8 all the way to subsidized housing. We also would work diligently to make sure that we keep rent control. People want to live in good areas, but they can't because the rent is extremely high. So we want to make sure that if they live in good downtown, they're living good on every side of town, and that we keep rent control. If you want to live in the South Loop, or if you want to live on the West Side, you want to live on the South Side, that it's safe and affordable. Those are the first things we have to work on, in order for us to have a really great city, because people have to have somewhere to stay, and they have to feel safe of having somewhere to stay. And then after that, we can work on the other things like education and support to our teachers, who I definitely want to, and I know you asked for 3, but one of the things I definitely would, because I am an educator, did work in schools, I would definitely give the teachers a right to live where they want to live. Some teachers don't want to, and that's one of the big things they have going on right now. They don't want to live in Chicago, and who could blame them? If they decided they want to live outside of Chicago, I think they should have the right to choose. They did a lot of work to become a teacher, and if they want to live outside of Chicago and come back every day and work, I think they should have that right to choose, because Chicago really is not safe right now. So if they have enough love, support, and respect for us, where they will at least come here to work and help educate our children, then I feel like they should have that support from us to give them a choice to choose.
Did you have some teachers approaching you and speaking their concern about this?
I have. Yes, I have. And I definitely support them in that. I really do. I definitely support them in that. Chicago is just in a bad condition right now. We definitely have to make some serious changes. And I believe if we start with police accountability and the crime on the streets of Chicago, making sure that it's safe, and then affordable housing, then we can move on to even more bigger things.
That is a lot to accomplish in 4 years. What is your opinion on term limits?
I don't think it's bad to have term limits. I think it's a good thing. I think that we just need the right leadership in place. The terms come around every 4 years. So we have an opportunity. If the person's not doing their job, we can just vote them out. Teamwork makes the dream work. So if the people of Chicago, all of us say, okay, you know what? Let's just give a person 8 years at a time. Then we set some goals within those 8 years of things we have planned to accomplish, and we accomplish those things within those 8 years. But I do support term limits, as well as believe that because we have an election every 4 years, that's a way of having a term limit. Because if people not doing their job, guess what? All the people have to do is come together and vote them out.
As a pastor, have you been able to get some church volunteers to help you?
Absolutely. There was plenty of our church volunteers that helped us to get those signatures. Majority of our people who did help get signatures were volunteers.
Approximately how many signatures did you get?
It became so many, I just wanted to hurry up. You know what? Let's get these signatures in. I believe it was about 80,000 or more signatures that were turned in. It may have been even more than that for the campaign. That's why we were like, wow. So we didn't make the ballot, not because we didn't have enough signatures, but because they wasn't in one book. Are you kidding me?
Oh, wow.
But and like I fought with them at the election board to say, well, listen, I've read plenty of books, and there's been plenty of chapters to those books, and mine was just bound in those different types of chapters. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't a problem about the signature. What kicked me off the ballot was the issue of them being in one tall stack.
There's no way that 80,000 signatures could be stacked in one stack, I don't think. It's very hard to bind everything together without it toppling over.
Yeah, it's extremely, they want you to bring it in on a wheelbarrow. So we had about almost 5,000 sheets. So they expected us to roll them in on a wheelbarrow. So that's how that went. But of course, the rule says that you're supposed to have them binded, and we had every page binded and consecutively numbered, and we had them all consecutively numbered. Mm. So there was no way that you could sneak any in or any out. It's just how the crooked, corrupt politics of Chicago go. And like I said, just as I've done when they disrespected and neglected me from City Hall, I had to sue them. So that'll be my next pursuit, to sue the Chicago Election Board as well.
This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. We have with us at Wizard Catherine Brown, the Tycoon, who is running as a write-in candidate for mayor of Chicago. And of course, she just explained she had plenty of signatures, 80,000 signatures, but they weren't bound in one book together in one stack, and she got kicked off the ballot. We'll continue now with our interview. Have you participated in any debates, Mayor Tycoon?
Yes, I have. Actually, I just recently did one the other day, which was, I believe it was Saturday. We did one for a mayoral forum.
Who was there with you at the debates?
There were 6 other candidates there, and I was the only female that was there, and 5 other male candidates that were there. It was 3 white people and 3 black. And I think it was a really good forum. We had a church full of community members who were there with real issues, and they wanted real answers. We addressed a lot of things. It was ECCSC who had the event. That forum was speaking about what are we going to do about people who's coming out of the prison system, who's looking to have reentry into society once they come out of prison, which I thought was a really, really good forum, because you do have a lot of people from the west side and the south side who have been disrespected by police brutality. Police brutality is not just someone that may beat you up, but may steal your life from you for putting you in a position of giving you a bad name with false cases. Also putting you in a position where you're with prosecutors who will give you trumped up charges, where if it was another race of people, they would not have got as much charges as they would if it was a black person. You know what I'm saying? So, and we had a lot of different questions that was asked of us. I would kind of like to address some of the answers that I gave to some of the questions.
Yes, so that you could describe to the voters your campaign. By all means, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that, everybody, we're not just looking at it on a stance of a political thing. We're looking on just a human thing, like a human right to have a second chance, because we all made mistakes in some way or another. And if they made a mistake in one way or another, we all need an opportunity to come out and be able to live as a citizen with the right mindset and have support to be able to reconnect with society and have a better life, because we just never know what may happen to us down in life, period. One of the questions that they had at the program was, do you support policies that allow ex-offenders to be able to get their license? And absolutely I do, when it comes to maybe them becoming a barber or them becoming something that they would have to have a state license for to be able to practice what their trade is. If you go to school and you get your education and you pass all the classes and you do all the tests and you go and you pass the state test, why wouldn't you be able to get your license if you've been to jail? Right. I think about myself, and when it came to police brutality, I could have served 30 years in prison for a made-up lie. So I can imagine all of the young men and women, but young men especially, that's been lied on and have served 25 years, 14 years in prison, and now they try to come out and just live because they had all this time taken away from them, that they just live and they cannot reconnect into society because there's no reentry programs or policies that support them having a second chance in life. So I look at it as just a human stance. And then as a person, if it was me, how would I want somebody to treat me? Mm-hmm. And I look at my situation and that I could have been taken away from my children for 30 years for a made up lie. And you have men that's in jail and people that's still in jail today from all of the false accusations that were put up against them. Mm-hmm. So, absolutely, I think if a person takes the time to get educated and do all the assignments, the tests, and they can pass the state board, that they should definitely be allowed to get their license to do the job that they've trained for.
What advice do you have for students in our community about interactions with the police now?
All right. Good. That's a good question. If I had to talk to students, or if I had to talk to community members about interaction with police, because I have been a liaison and extremely active in the community with police, what saved my life and stopped me from going to jail, I believe, was my reputation and what I had did in the community. When I had to be presented to the judge doing bond court about, it wasn't like my education that got me off or any of that, for a $2,500 bond. The prosecutor wanted to give me $250,000 bond for something I did not do. But after I told my attorney, tell the judge who I was as a community member. After telling the judge all the things that I have done as a community member, he knew from that alone, the language that I use about the 6th District Police Department, about working with CAPS, about working with local school council, no child left behind, that there's no way that this lady could be a criminal. Mm-hmm. Not to attack the police when she worked with the police. So I would tell students and community members, get active in your community with the police. Don't let it be where they just come and attack you. Let them know who you are by going to their meetings. They have beat meetings, they have roll calls, they have CAPS meetings. I think you need to get involved in your police department that's in your area. Like I was from the 6th district. When they had CAPS meetings, I was there. When we had beat meetings, I was there.
How many attendees do you have at those meetings? Because we also have with us in the studio Bill Morton, president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce and also running as a write-in candidate for alderman of the 49th Ward. He and I attended a CAPS meeting last week, and there were no persons of color there. Were there, Bill?
For being one of the most diverse communities in the city, if not nationwide, our diversity is not well represented at a lot of our community meetings, and especially our CAPS meetings, and that's something that we need to change in our community and citywide.
I agree with Bill. When I got started in the CAPS meetings and going to beat meetings, there were more senior citizens involved in the CAPS meetings. But when I began to get involved in those beats and CAPS meetings in my area, we began to bring so many people with us, we had to bring in chairs. To go back to that question about the students and the community members, it's really important that you get involved. And the way that you get people to come to those meetings is you start right there, block to block. I started at my block saying, listen, y'all, if y'all don't like the guys hanging out, or if y'all don't like that we don't get nothing for our streets, or you don't like the police encounter, what we have to do is come together and go to their meetings. Don't let them wait till we call them over through 911. Let them know who we are. So I knew the superintendents, the lieutenants, all of that. Only reason that those officers that attacked me didn't know who I was, even though if they knew who I was, there was no way they were supposed to disrespect or neglect me. Regardless, you don't treat nobody in the manner in which they treated me and those girls, my girls. So I would tell a student or a community member, get involved. Don't wait until you have to dial 911. Know your superintendent, know your lieutenant, even know your streets and sanitation supervisors. You should know your community from the block to all of these departments that's being held. I knew everybody in my community, from the streets and saying so, and it paid off for me, because once I got attacked and I was in the hospital because they had beat me so bad. When I was in the hospital, one of the officers said, I remember you. I could never forget you. You're that lady that used to give us water and certificates and have roll calls. There were so many people, we couldn't believe it. So it pays off to know. And by being active, I was the person that had a police camera put at the front of my block, not knowing that very camera was going to save my life. So that very camera was a portion of saving my life, showing that I didn't attack a police. It was all a made-up story. So it's important that students and community members get involved. Don't wait till you got to dial 911, because your reputation and who you are and what you've done in the community will speak loudly for you. The one thing they cannot take away from you is pictures, videos, and your reputation, because it's going to speak for yourself. And that alone, I believe that was a huge portion of why Judge Brown, the day I had to go to bond court, said, no way. We will not charge $250,000 to let this lady out, not with the reputation that she has. We're only going to say $2,500. Don't you know, if they believed, and that judge believed in any way that I had caused any harm to a police officer, that he would not let me out for $2,500, or there would not have even been a bond. But he knew from my reputation and being involved in the community and was able to speak that language that there's no way this lady committed what is been said. But of course, we know she's innocent until proven guilty, but we got to put something in place where, until things get proven. And I was proven not guilty.
Are there more young people? I know that before there were senior citizens at the CAPS meetings in your ward, in your beats. Are there more young people now? After have you been pushing for more young people?
I haven't per se myself been as active in CAPS within these last few years, because I've been fighting for my life and for my money for the last 5 years.
I see.
First for my life, and then for my $1 million that we did settle on. So of course I had to fight for my life to keep myself out of jail for 30 years, which I went through a lot of mental stress behind that.
Absolutely.
You know, thinking every day that it's possible that I could go to jail. So as mayor of Chicago, I have a true passion of making sure that we come together in unity with the police and the community to have good living for all of us, because the police got to go home to their family too. And we want them to feel safe on the streets, as well as the community feels safe in the community. So we have to build we have to connect this bridge between the police and the community in order for us to have a really great city. We no longer want police to think that will not follow the law, or think that they can make up the law as they go along. We want them to follow the law. We need police that wear their seatbelts. We need police that will not run street lights. We need police that will not be on their cell phone. The very thing they tell us not to do, we're expecting them to do.
What advice do you have for students in our community about running for office and political work?
I would say do it. Absolutely. I am in 100% of encouraging people to run in the political realm. I think that if you just start with the smallest things, like I started with, getting to know your community itself from block to block, and becoming a precinct captain, working under your alderman and volunteering in different alderman groups. I think that's a good thing. I got a chance to meet a lot of alderman candidates like Bill Morton, who's running in the 49th Ward as a write-in candidate. I got an opportunity to meet a lot of candidates just being involved, and becoming a candidate myself. You get a chance to meet other people that's into what you're into. So I would tell any student or any community member, absolutely yes, please. There's so many different positions that you could run for, and it's just not the ones that's on city council. There's other positions in the city that you can run for. So you just have to get, involved to find out what those are. And I believe that we need to have precinct captains that are paid, because precinct captains that are paid will bring jobs into the community, and it will give people an opportunity to have a job to do, what keeps a lot more order within those precincts, because there's a lot of precincts within all of these wards. So if we could, even if we just started with the basis of $12 an hour, that would be a job for someone to do, and that's a lot of jobs that you're bringing into one ward, and it will help with keeping order within our community and helping people, have like a hands-on with community members that's actually involved in the community.
Who are you precinct captain for?
I was a precinct captain. I'm not a precinct captain now, but I was a precinct captain under Alderman Howard Brookins' 21st Ward.
Thank you so much for joining us at WZRD today, Mayor Tycoon, and the best of luck to you in your write-in campaign for Mayor of Chicago.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a joy to be here today.
Thank you.